Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar themed Should India Start Thinking of Circular Economy in Furniture? My name is Alpha Topo, and I work with Chintan as a coordinator, informal sector and environment. I am currently working on the project Waste Workers in Circular Economy. Chintan Environmental Research Action Group is a non-profit that works on sustainability through the lens of solid and hazardous waste and air pollution. Chintan reduces waste and consumption, manages solid and electronic waste, and advocates around material waste and consumption. It uses waste as a tool to fight poverty, child labor, gender based violence, exclusion, and climate change while creating green livelihoods. Chintan pushes back and combats unsustainable consumption. Thank you for joining in this fifth webinar. The first webinar was on fashion and circular economy in India, and the second one discussed technology's role in making the fashion industry circular in India. The third webinar introduced us to the sharing economy. The fourth discussed the prospects and future of the upscaling up sharing economy. And today we move on to discuss furniture in the circular economy. This webinar series is made possible by FES Germany. Friedrich Ebert Stiftung is a non-profit German foundation committed to the values of democracy and social justice. With this webinar series, FES would like to create a nuanced and progressive discourse for social, economic, and ecological transformation with gender justice and climate justice at its core. In the post-pandemic world, societies and economies need to rethink and innovate more sustainable ways of doing business that are less extractive. The world has seen that interference with biodiversity has a significant impact on human health. Circular economy offers an exciting possible avenue for increased sustainability and equity to build back green post-COVID-19. The circular economy can create deep and lasting social transformation, have the power to lift people out of poverty through job creation, and create more sustainable, impactful modes of exchange. This fifth webinar of the sixth webinar series, Furniture, Should India Start Thinking of Circular Economy for Furniture, introduces the furniture industry in India, different models of owning and renting furniture, and the sustainability of furniture in India to a diverse and interested audience. The webinar would cover essential topics like how to integrate the furniture industry into the circular economy and the future of furniture production and consumption. Thank you all for joining with us today. We will have a 35 to 40-minute discussion with a brilliant panelist over here, and then we'll open up for question and answers. Please post your questions simultaneously while during the discussion, and we can take it up at the end. So I'll now introduce the panelists. We have Ajit Mohan Karimpana, who is the founder and CEO of Furlenco, India's first and largest subscription company. He is a versatile entrepreneur with a great knack for spotting transformational business opportunities, a trait that also led him to establish Furlenco and now Unlimited by Furlenco, world's first furniture subscription service. Ajit is a BTech graduate in industrial engineering and engineering from the National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar. He has an MS in Computer and Information Science from Temple University, Philadelphia. Apart from being a successful and inspirational business leader, Ajit is a voracious reader and has a penchant for languages. He also loves watching Bollywood movies. Our next panelist is Shivani Dogra. Shivani Dogra runs an interior design business based out of New Delhi and Goa. The studio focuses on creating Indian-inspired spaces that are contextual and, as far as is possible, sustainable. The studio has successfully completed residential and hospitality spaces around India and overseas, and has been featured extensively in the media. She is a self-trained, and her first display of an interior design project was her own studio apartment in New Delhi, decorated almost completely with recycled materials. Our next speaker is Deepak Kukreja. He is the owner of Kukreja Furnitures. It is a furniture and manufacturer seller based in Amar Colony, Delhi. He has been in the furniture business for almost 18 years, since 2004. He studied interior design at JD Institute and gained experience while learning and working in the Amar Colony furniture market, recycling wood and furniture into new techniques. Our next speaker is Dr. T.K. Joshi. Dr. T.K. Joshi, Director, Occupational and Environmental Program, MBBS, MS, MSc, Occupational Medicine, London. He is a visiting professor at the Drexel University School of Public Health, Philadelphia. He was a visiting research fellow at London School of Hygiene, at TUC Sanitary Institute of Occupational Health. He has been a director, Occupational and Environmental Health Program at COEH, first Indian physician elected fellow by Collegium Ramazini. Am I pronouncing it right, Dr. T.K. Joshi?
Yes, yes. Yeah. Ramazini is the father of occupational medicine. You are right.
He has been associated with several leading corporate organizations and trade unions. He has national and international experience and is an acknowledged expert in the field. Dr. T.K. Joshi is specialized in occupational and environment medicine, an area which has a global shortage of specialists, including North America and Europe. I would now like to invite the panelists to speak, starting with Mr. Ajit Karimpanna. Kindly share your journey with Furlenco. Yeah.
Sure. Am I audible, clear and loud? Am I clear, Alpha?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you, Alpha. Thanks for and the Chintan organization to invite me over. Just learning about my panelists, co-panelists as well. So quickly about me and what we do at Furlenco. So Furlenco, for those of you who don't know, is now by far the largest furniture rental company in India at this point of time, completely online based. We span across pretty much all the top tier 1 and tier 2 cities in India at this point of time. Started this sometime in 2012. It's been actually 2011 to be precise. It's our 10th year journey, but the first few years of it was a struggle. The concept was not accepted in India, you can say that. The funding wasn't available, so we had to literally bootstrap and make our way through. We got a first taste of success in 2015 when we got our venture capital funding. And since then, it has been it's been a tremendous journey. And just to give you a perspective, Furlenco today ships out. It's actually the third largest online furniture company. Forget about rentals, just furniture itself. It's about third largest. We push out roughly about retail value of goods. If you were to take, we push out about 750 crores, 1,000 crores worth of furniture every on an annualized basis and on a year-to-year basis. Coming back to our topic itself, interestingly, no, in all honesty, I didn't start this firm thinking that it'll be sustainable or circular in nature. It was more thought of as a business and an entrepreneurship rather than anything else. But it so happened that as we went along the journey of solving problems related to Furlenco, we realized that we are actually doing some good here. What I mean by that is every single piece of furniture that goes out of the system to customers, they eventually come back to us. And when it comes back, we actually remanufacture it and refurbish it. And so we are experts of that. So that facility never existed here in India before we actually started creating it. So now every city where we exist, we have created this remanufacturing facility. So manufacturing facility is where you create furniture. A remanufacturing facility is where you give life back to the furniture in some sense. So we had to do that because the business model commands it. So every city has got this center where if furniture comes back, then if it is a sofa, we would if it requires a reupholstery, we do that. If it is solid wood tables, then we do sanding, polishing, whatever is required to get it to absolute newness. So what we promise as a remanufacturing facility is that it is better than new. So as a layman customer, you would not know that the product has been used by another individual for however long they must have used. So there is no concept of used in the world of Furlenco. Everything is brand new, and it's brand new because it is remanufactured. So hence the whole, coming back to the topic of our today's conversation, hence the whole circularity of furniture. So every product that goes out of Furlenco's world comes back, and it actually never dies. We call it the perpetuality of furniture in some sense. So as we were solving the concept, we realized that there is much larger scope than this. So we decided to go one step further, and we launched a new brand called Furbicle, which is basically into remanufactured furniture. So here we are now saying that, look, we will, while Furlenco as a model is about rentals, we push out furniture on a rental basis. Furbicle is actually about selling, but ultimately we will actually buy it back from the customer. So one is a rental model, the other is a sell and buy back model at the end of the day. So again, circularity of it, and the umbilical cord between Furlenco and Furbicle would be that it would be based on the platform of sustainability. It will be based on the platform of circularity, and everything that we do. So what we did was that we created an umbrella brand on top of Furlenco. We call it House of Kiraya. And House of Kiraya, everything that House of Kiraya does is going to be in the world of sustainability or circularity. So Furlenco was the first. Furbicle is the second. In another 20 days, we're going to be launching our third brand, which also would have something to do with sustainability. So everything that House of Kiraya does will continue to have something related to circularity and sustainability. So circularity is the key. Sustainability is maybe you can call it the other side of the coin. So the materials that we use, for example, we realize that if it's a rental company and if things have to be refurbished, then you better stick with products which are refurbishable, reusable, and sustainable, right? So for example, we only use solid wood. So we know that solid wood can be, it lasts much longer. Even if things go wrong, if people scratch it, people break it, it can be brought back to life. So it's very easy that way. So we stay as much as possible. And I heard that my co-panelist Shivani, I believe that you try and use as much sustainable products as possible. So we also try as much as possible to use sustainable elements so that refurbishability or even if you go wrong on the refurbishability, it doesn't fill up landfill in any sense. So just to conclude on that thought, we didn't start off thinking that we will be what we are, which is a circular economy, part of the circular economy. But today, as we speak, we seem to be right at the center of creating a new way of thinking, and we're actually proud of that. So yeah, that's in a nutshell what we've been doing, Alpha.
Thank you so much, Ajit. Yeah, a lot of my friends have been using your company products. Yeah, it's really nice to hear from you. We would move to the next panelist. Has Deepak joined, Shri Ranjani?
He hasn't joined yet, but he will. And thank you for that, Ajit. That was super interesting, and I have a lot of questions for you in the question.
Happy to answer them later.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move next to Shivani Dogra. Shivani, yeah,
Yeah.
the panel is yours.
Hi, have you got the presentation?
Yes, I'll share it.
Okay. So I'm just going to introduce a little bit about, introduce myself via my journey into the world of interiors. I'm an ex-media person. I was trained in film, and then I made the shift into interior design. And like Ajit said before me, I didn't have this grand plan to be a, someone that would conserve or, use sustainable materials for work, but it just happened. And this is the presentation on, Alpha?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Shriranjani, yeah.
You should just share it.
Yeah.
No, that's not slide 1. So slide 1 is
Okay, just give me a second.
so so basically before they put the presentation on, I grew up, I think like most Indians in the 80s and 90s, with a strong emphasis on having to reuse things. We used a product until its last legs, and then we just had to repurpose it. And that was because we were frugal. We didn't want to throw things out. And I remember things like toothbrushes being repurposed to use, to sort of put nadas into churidars and salwars. My grandmother used her fridge till the end of her life. I think she never threw it out. And so I grew up in that sort of an atmosphere. Like my sweaters were always darned by my mother. My socks were darned. Nothing was thrown out. And so that sort of stuck in my mind. And I think to date, I'm a little guilty of just throwing things out, like using stuff, one use and throw it out. And I think that's training through childhood. At least India at a certain point was naturally sustainable. People were really conscious of what they were using and how they'd use it. And I also remember, like in terms of furnishings and clothes, at least in our family, a lot of it was passed down through generations, right? Like, so we'd have pashmina shawls or saris that were well preserved. I remember my grandmother preserving her saris in neem leaves and then airing them out in the summer. And these were saris that were over like 50, 60 years old, right? Like passed down from her grandmother. So I think in that sense, we were taught to value the handmade. We were taught to value, I mean, even things like a television or a refrigerator. It wasn't this culture of changing things once in every 5 years. So that stuck with me. And I think that has to an extent influenced my style now. But where I really started was this apartment, if you can call it an apartment, that you see in the first slide. I was on my first job in Delhi, and I had rented these servants' quarters or this storeroom from my aunt, who had a very large house in Delhi, and this was at the end of her driveway. But a friend of mine saw it and she said, well, it has potential. You can do a lot with it, because on one side of this house, there was a jamun tree, and on the other side, there was like a fabulous bougainvillea. And so I didn't have the budget to rent anything better than this at that point in Delhi. So we cleared it out. And I remember 2 things that guided the design for this space. One was my budget. I didn't have a large budget. And the second was style. Like I knew I had a certain sense of style, but I couldn't find anything in the market then that would fit my budget, or if I liked something, it was too expensive for me to buy. And so what I did was I started scouring all the scrap markets around Delhi or where I stayed. There was one market that was bang on the way between where I worked and where I stayed, and I would stop by every evening, and I picked up a couple of chairs in the second slide for like 350 rupees, I think, for both of them. And then the futon that you see was picked up by some expat American that was leaving Delhi on a forum that sold secondhand furniture. That was 6,000. And so within 20,000, I managed to decorate this space. I didn't expect it would look like this, but it was a real transformation from what it looked like before. I mean, as you can see from the first picture. And it got published in BBC Good Homes. And for me, that was a big thing at that point. I wasn't an interior designer then. I was a media person. And so that encouraged me to like go further and maybe, try my hand in the world of interiors. And once again, I started discovering that clients with lower budgets or smaller budgets didn't really have, I think the options then were Fab India, The options were, there were some other brands in Delhi that really, I didn't like the style of. And so once again, what we did is if they had furniture that was usable, we would just get in like polishers and carpenters that could refurbish that furniture. And it was really good furniture because it's solid wood, it's teak from a certain period, right? So why would you replace that a teak wood table, which is gorgeous wood, with something that is mango wood, or from a store that's selling it to you for double the cost? And so we started that way, and we slowly progressed. This was, if you look at slide 5, that was a project done 5 years ago at Scindia School, Gwalior. Once again, Scindia has a budget for allocated for for refurbishment of some of their buildings, and I worked closely with the conservation architect, 2 conservation architects on this project. Since we didn't have the budget and it was difficult to get stuff from Delhi or fly stuff from anywhere, they had fantastic reserves. They had like stuff they hadn't used for 20 years just lying around, beautiful like pieces of furniture that we just took out of the storeroom. That's on slide number 5. That was part of the storeroom that was filled with, you can see like boards of wood. They had furniture that had like cane on them that was now caned with plastic. And so we just made use of all of that. My partner at that point refurbished the entire building. It was an old British battery, and it had been classrooms at some point, and we were refurbishing those 6 classrooms into studio units for teachers, right? So slide number 6 is halfway through work. We removed all the synthetic paint that had been painted on the walls for years. And what you can see is the original masonry. We just kept that as it was. It was beautiful. We just constructed like small, like you can see this white thing, which was an RCC sort of structure to demarcate the bedroom from the living room. And so we used lime mortar to fill. We didn't use cement. We used lime mortar to fill like gaps in the walls. That was natural as well. We used lime paint on this, on areas of the wall. It kept it cooler. It was natural. It wasn't synthetic paint again. And we didn't use air conditioning in this space. We used a cooling system. So even, I think we inaugurated this in probably August, which is really hot in Gwalior. But when you walked in, it was still cool. It wasn't air conditioned cool, but it was a very natural cool, right? And so so slide 8 is what it looked like after the interiors were done. Everything you see on slide 8 was refurbished, right? We had, can you move to slide 8, please? Yes, so everything that you see here was either hand done, refurbished, painted over. We found practically everything in the stores of Scindia School, right? And the tiles that you can see a little bit of was also handmade in Delhi. This was a budget project. And we used everything, we refurbished everything that the school had. And so naturally I got into refurbishment and just sort of reusing things. And now I have a bit of a guilt complex when I'm trying to, create something new with new wood. We just use older wood that's available in the market, older teak wood, to sort of make our furniture for clients. And I really like doing that. So this is, if you look at the other slides, that's also Scindia School. That's just a bit of, all of that is refurbished. Like the sofa was got cheap at a kabaddi wala, my local kabaddi again. Somebody had thrown it away in Delhi. We just had to fix the legs a little bit. The next slide is slide number 10. Is also, slide number 10 is the bedroom. And the interesting part about this bedroom is that the headboard you see was like a partition screen somewhere. I think I picked it up from Amar Colony. And so we did that. The piece of art that you see was also picked up. Everything in this frame except the counterpane, the bedspread, was refurbished, right? The light as well. The 2 stools that you see there, it's so fashionable to have these sort of open kitchens now with stools like this. These were school stools, right? Like we found them in a store. And I think multiple architects were working in this campus. We were the ones that were using all the old furniture, right? Like they had bigger budgets than us and they were, sourcing furniture, getting it made. But we just, we grabbed what we saw. And the next slide, which is slide 11, is, yeah, that's also Scindia. Everything that you see there again was on campus. And 13 and 14 are another project I did in Delhi. I mean, we do the same thing over and over. This was a bench that was getting thrown away by the landlady for a friend, and he just suggested that we reused it, and it looked quite pretty. So you can see in slide 14, that's the same bench, right? Like everything in this is either handmade, natural, sourced locally. That lamp came from Amar Colony, somebody's old lamp. We just had to find a lampshade for it. And yes, so I got into this rather coincidentally. It wasn't a plan, but I enjoy doing it, and I don't think I'm going to go back. So that's the story.
Thank you so much, Shivani. It was really interesting to hear, especially how you are not using air conditioners, and how is the cooling happening over there? How does the room stay cool? Like what
There
are you
is
using?
an old-fashioned sort of cooling system that we installed above, like eye level. The ceilings were really high, and so I'm not sure about the technicalities. My partner took care of that, but it's a water-based cooling system, so that was, it sort of worked quite well. Yeah.
That's really like sustainable and like a future thing for the climate.
Yeah, the lime really helped also, because with paint gets hot, but in lime, in a climate like Gwalior, it's dry. You walked in and it's a very desi sort of cool, like not manufactured cool, but it was like, well, I can relax here. I can have my nimbu pani, it was like very Indian. So
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I love your work and I follow you on Instagram. Yeah, so it's really amazing to see your designs and how you have been refurbishing all the furnitures. Yeah. So we'll move to the next panelist, Dr. TK Joshi.
Thank you very much. We can move to the next slide straight away. Next, please. You can move to the next slide. Well, I'm a different sort of a person, and it was quite a difficult proposition for me to accept to talk about a subject which even my colleagues, physicians and doctors don't understand very well. But my specialty, I was a trained surgeon, and for half of my life I was a surgeon operating in operation theater and doing the typical surgical work. But then I turned to the environmental health, because what happened that toward the end of last millennium, the world realized we had enough data to understand that probably as a medical student, when I started my career, we were taught that why people become sick. The people become sick because perhaps it is in their genes. So by the turn of the last millennium, this theory was overturned on its head, and it was realized that it's not the genes, it is the environment where with which you interact, which is probably the most important cause of the ill health. Just to give you an example, today the most common cancer that affects man is lung cancer. At the beginning of last century, this was an unknown cancer. So over 100 years, this unknown cancer has become the most common cancer and the biggest killer of man. We have not changed. Our genes have not changed. We remain the same. What has actually changed is the environment. And the factors that have led to this change is, as you know, smoking, air pollution, industrial pollution, and other factors which cause, and the work. So I think what today is needed, as we also realized during this COVID phase, the understanding the environment. But to be very honest, doctors are not interested in health. You know, if you take the life, there are two at the spectrum of life. At two ends, on one end you have health, and the other end you have disease. No, very few people will be interested in health. Health is a very difficult subject. And the doctor's training is not on health. It's all about disease. So they get interested in disease and little is done to health. And if our efforts were directed, a fraction of our efforts are directed in addressing health, will be much healthier today. Anyhow, so coming to your furniture business, I was just asking yesterday, it's a very huge subject and one can talk on this from a health and environmental perspective for hours together. However, one thing is very clear, and this applies to your daily activity, whether you drive, whether you cook, whatever you do, it's not how, it is not what, it is not when, it is not where. It is how it is handled, used, understood, and managed that make any material activity either safe or harm. You are driving, I will draw an analogy with driving. You are driving, you are a very good driver, you are belted, you have good weather conditions, you have good roads, your car is perfect, but you are drunk. And you can imagine what can happen. And now we have more accidents and injuries and deaths occurring, not because of the people getting drunk, but because of the use of mobile. And I'm really surprised how even the most educated people fall in the trap and get either severely injured or. Okay, so we can move to the next one. Now this is there's such a vast array of materials that you use in furniture making that sky is the limit. But I just focus, I chose some very common ones. I haven't covered paints, varnishes, which is again a huge topic. Anyhow, glass making is I have visited many factories, you know, the picture tubes of your television, as glass vessels, utensils made of glass, they got a very severe lung damage. If you see the workers, this is a condition which causes, we call it silicosis, where the lungs are totally damaged. The final treatment is only lung transplant. Very few people can afford. Then wood is impregnated with chromium. Chromium, you know, most of the vessels that you buy these days in the market under the rubric of stainless steel are not actually stainless steel. They are chrome plated. So the chromium and nickel. So chromium is actually added to the leather, is added to the wood, and formaldehyde to kill the termites. And it is acknowledged that it causes cancer, and formaldehyde causes a very rare blood cancer, the leukemia. So, and I remember going to the basement of a very big furniture store, and the moment I entered, I started coughing. And so the man who was the owner, he said, what's wrong with you? I said, nothing wrong with me, but it is wrong with your basement. And because I could see there's this formaldehyde being released from the furniture. So in your home, actually now your mattresses, your furnishings, they all release formaldehyde, and you will be surprised to know that one of the fastest growing disease globally is asthma, especially in children. And we don't know, we haven't actually calculated, but quite a few cases maybe because of this modern furnishings of the formaldehyde. The leather, and also wood dust is a categorized carcinogen. It causes cancer. The international agency, you know, IARC is a branch of WHO, World Health Organization. It has categorized wood as a established cancer-causing agent. And leather, even leather dust is also classified as a cancer-causing agent. And there are documented cases of cancer being caused in this industry amongst the workers. Now, plastic. A lot of plastic is being now used, PVC especially. This is it's very interesting. PVC manufacturing and PVC disposal as waste is extremely hazardous. Its use somehow or other is less hazardous. It is, you must have heard of the phthalates and other which leach out. So much so, you know, I'm a physician. There was a case of a person who got very severely injured and had to be transfused with 32 pints of blood. The patient started recovering and suddenly he went down the hill. And then it was studied and realized that in fact from the blood bag, the thyroid esters started leaching out and got into his blood and made him so sick. Of course, his life could be saved. So we have been working for a very long time with the Baxter International, who are the biggest manufacturer of these bags. You know, when you go to the hospital, you see people being transfused with fluids and blood and all that. We have not been able to find a substitute, but it remains a most nasty thing, and especially its manufacture. You know, PVC is made from a vinyl chloride, which is a gas, which is polymerized in chambers. And to add a strength to it, the lead and cadmium is added. And that's why, you know, under Indian rules, you cannot incinerate or burn plastic, because burning it will release hydrochloric acid and also lead and cadmium. And you will not believe that some years ago in Trans-Jamuna area, in the winter months, there were some duggies, a kabadi wala, he was feeling cold, so he collected some trash, some plastic, set it on fire. And this fumes and smoke entered the juggies. 4 people died, 20 were made sick, and they were sent to GTB hospital, our GTB hospital. And it happened 2 kilometers from the Central Pollution Control Board offices, who studied the problem for 2 years. The chairman of the board, Mr. Dilip Biswas, was a friend. So I kept pursuing. I said, what happened? How did this death occur? Just by burning this trash. They, after 2 years of intensive investigation, a lot of brainstorming, they could not establish the cause, but they shortlisted 2 things. They said it is possible that either of the 2 elements released from this trash burning were probably the cause of death. One was either it was hydrogen cyanide. You know, hydrogen cyanide is the foam that you use. The meeting only take minute. If you know the foam that on mattresses on which we sit, if you take a mattress, set it on fire in the room, everyone will die because it will release hydrogen cyanide gas. So it was cadmium which came out of the burning of that plastic. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yes, you know, this is a documented case of a lady who, you see how she weighs 32 kilograms. She has no flesh, no fat. She just has bones and skin, that's all. And it is because she was working in a glass manufacturing unit. You know, when you make glass, you make it from silica sand. I've been to this many of these units, and the silica sand, it is heated. And when it is heated, it becomes more toxic. And so it causes this very fatal disease. And you will be surprised to know that India has the good fortune or misfortune of having the largest number of silicosis cases in the world, simply because of our apathy and because of making such simple interventions to prevent this. I was appointed a commissioner by Honorable Supreme Court for Rajasthan, where it's a perennial problem. There are villages, there is a place, Mandsaur, in Madhya Pradesh, where a lady married 5 husbands because each husband died due to silicosis. This used to happen in Europe in medieval times, where a case is documented, a woman married 7 times because all her husbands perished due to this silicosis. It keeps on happening in India. It's a shame on us. Next, please. Next slide, please. Now, formaldehyde is we use in our hospital. We use, my colleagues in the hospital and department, pathology department and anatomy, they are all buried. In fact, I got a letter from the head of the department of anatomy in Maulana Azam Ali College, and she wrote a letter to me, Doctor, we have these medical students, you know, they have to dissect in their first 2 years the human bodies, and which is impregnated with formaldehyde to preserve. And there have been many cases where the students and the people who are there out there in the dissection hall, they get irritation, they get respiratory problem. Nobody has looked if any case of cancer has occurred, but it's likely because formaldehyde is a known cancer causing agent. And also it's very irritating to eyes, it's very irritating to the respiratory system. So that is what it is. Next, please. This is the actually wood dust, and according to the National Cancer Institute of the United States, which is the foremost institution on cancer, they say it is a major problem and it is responsible for cancer. Next, please. Now, PVC, I mean, it is the most toxic plastic, and it is both extremely damaging to the health, to the environment. And I mean, in either way, when you burn it, again, it releases a lot of toxic materials. And in fact, there is a whole lot of convention, and many of you must have heard of it, the Stockholm Convention. The Stockholm Convention is all about making sure that you do not incinerate anything which has chlorine. And PVC, polyvinyl chloride, it has a lot of chlorine. So under the Stockholm Convention, which has been globally adopted, and India is a signatory to that, we are not supposed to burn PVC. It is an offense. But you know, and I know that people don't care. Many poor people will still burn it because it's lying on the roadside, it's lying everywhere. Next, please. No, this is a very, very rare cancer, a very fatal cancer. Once it is diagnosed, it is a passport to certain death. This is what happens. You know, it was first time discovered when the PVC manufacturing started in the United States of America. They found that suddenly a hospital where the surgeon, as a surgeon, I also a surgeon hardly ever sees a case in his lifetime of this rare cancer. Very few surgeons will come across. But they suddenly found that a lot of people started coming to the hospital with this rare cancer. And then they found that these people who were developing this cancer were those who were cleaning the polymerization chambers where the vinyl chloride was polymerized. So then it became known that, oh, PVC is such a nasty material. And of course, once it is diagnosed, it is too late. You can't save the patient. Next, please. Again, I don't know whether you can see it. This is a very, very peculiar condition which occurs. The terminal, you know, your fingers, we call the bones called phalanges. There are 3 in each finger. The terminal phalange gets destroyed, and you will see the finger, they're shortened because the bone is destroyed. It's a very rare condition. It of course occurs in diabetes, it occurs in many other conditions, but PVC manufacture is notorious for causing it. Next, please. Now, the chromium, the leather cancer probably are caused by the chromium. In fact, you know, I have been graduated and post-graduated at Kanpur Medical College, and there's a lot of tanning industry in Kanpur. There's a big leather industry in Kanpur where it has been notorious. You know, half of the Ganges pollution is due to this chromium and due to tanneries. So you can imagine. Next, please. So I'll come to the final slide, that why do these things keep on happening and why we can actually prevent. In fact, there is a process, there is an activity known as hazard evaluation. And this is my specialty. And after I gave my surgery, I went to UK and I went to US and specialized in this very particular area, which is not a very fancy area and which in India is still a very neglected and a very alien kind of subject. So it's a, I mean, you can just say, right, it's a very complicated process. It can be undertaken by an expert. And if you do that hazard evaluation, you can probably prevent even silicosis, you can prevent hemangiosarcoma, you can prevent practically any disease which is occurring due to environment and your work. The question is of people not taking interest, and it is surprising to me. I'll end up with you saying that it is all about the attitude. I have my students working in Honda, in Maruti, in NTPC, everywhere. We have trained so many student doctors because there is a requirement these doctors must get training. So I was once invited to Honda by my doctor student. And so I just started talking about the safety. So this safety man, safety in charge of the Honda company said, Dr. Saab, आपने हमको आज safety सिखा दी. So I didn't say anything extraordinary, but what I did, I put the hazard evaluation and merge it with the safety. And they were doing safety mechanically. So I would say that this is a very, very interesting area, and it doesn't cost you much. If you have it, in any place, in a small place or in a workplace, very simple solutions can prevent the most fatal disease outcomes. So that's what I would say. And next, please. Next, please. So thank you very much for your patient hearing. I don't know how much relevant it was to the subject of the today. And I thank the Chintan for inviting me for this small talk. And I'll be very happy if there are any questions. I'll be very happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Joshi. Like, this was a entire new learning for me today. Like, I never heard about the toxicity in the furniture. Yeah, this was an insightful presentation. Thank you so much. Sri Ranjani, do we have Deepak here?
Deepak is not able to join us, but I do have a very quick video he sent us that I will play, and then we will move on to the question and answer section.
This is a busy hour for Deepak, I think, because he works in the Amar Colony Furniture Market, and like this is the peak time. So this video, I'll just introduce about this video. This video has been shot by our Chintan team for this webinar, and it's very interesting. Yeah, Shriranjani, play. Shriranjani, can you play the video, please?
Yes, I am. Can you hear the audio?
Yes, but can you play it again? Because I can see a black.
मेरा नाम दीपक कुकरेजा है। मैं इस लाइन में अराउंड 18 ईयर्स से हूँ। आफ्टर स्कूलिंग मैंने इंटीरियर डिज़ाइनिंग किया था। इंटीरियर डिज़ाइनिंग के बाद मैं अपने स्टोर पे आके काम करना शुरू किया। तब यहाँ पे आके देखा मैंने कि सब रिसाइकलिंग करके बनाते हैं, तो मेरे को काफ़ी अच्छा लगा। इससे पहले जब मैं इंस्टीट्यूट में काम करता था, इंस्टीट्यूट में पढ़ाई करता था, तो जनरली हम और मार्केट में सर्वे करने गए तो वहाँ पे सब नया था सामान। यहाँ पे आके काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग लगा कि पुराने को रीडू कर रहे थे लोग, लेकिन बहुत कम लोग कर रहे थे। तो उसको प्रमोट करने के लिए फिर मैंने उस पर आर्टिकल्स पढ़े गूगल में। आर्टिकल्स पढ़ के फिर उसको धीरे धीरे इम्प्लीमेंट किया और इम्प्लीमेंट करके काम को शुरू किया। पहले एक प्रोडक्ट फिर 2 प्रोडक्ट, क्योंकि शुरू में पता नहीं होता कि क्या प्रोडक्ट चल रहा है, क्या नहीं चल रहा है, क्या लोग पसंद करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे। लेकिन जैसे जैसे मैं एक एक पीस रेडी करता गया और वो सेल आउट होते गए, तो धीरे धीरे मेरे अंदर भी एक अंदर से लगा कि हाँ चल जाएगा सब कुछ। तो फिर मैं धीरे धीरे सब कुछ रिसाइकलिंग के उसमें ही आ गया। मैं पूरा बिजनेस रिसाइकलिंग में ही करता हूँ। ये कुछ पुराने डिज़ाइन के बेड्स आते हैं, इसको हमने रिसाइकिल किया हुआ है, और ये चेन हमने नया करवा के इसको नए में कन्वर्ट किया हुआ है। ऐसे ही ये पुराना साइड टेबल है। इसमें हमने टाइल्स नया लगा दिया, दोबारा से चॉकपेंट मार के इसको रीडू करा हुआ है। ये पुराना प्लाई बोर्ड का कैबिनेट है, इसमें हम कोई भी कलर करके इसको रीडू कर सकते हैं। ये भी हमने पुराने को बनाया हुआ है, पुराने से हमने लुक नया दिया हुआ सारा। पुराने विंडो से, पुराने डोर से हमने बेड बनाया हुआ है, बेड का हेडबोर्ड बना दिया और आगे पीछे स्टोरेज बॉक्सेस बना के इसको यूज़ कर सकते हैं। यही कहना चाहता हूँ कि किसी के पास भी पुराना सामान है तो उसको प्लीज़ फेंकिए मत, तो कहीं ना कहीं यूज़ हो सकता है और कुछ ना कुछ आप फर्नीचर में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं। ये पुराने टायर्स हैं जो स्क्रैप में चले जाते हैं, जो लोग जला देते हैं, ये हम जलाते नहीं हैं, इसको हमने सीटिंग में कन्वर्ट कर लिया है। अगर इसको हम ये सीट हटा दें, यहाँ पे हम गिलास लगा दें तो यू कैन यूज इट एज अ कॉफी टेबल ऑल्सो। सो हम इसके एक सेट बना सकते हैं, 2 कॉफीज और एक कॉफी टेबल बीच में रख के एक अच्छी सी सीटिंग क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। छोटी सी वुड को भी मैं ख़राब नहीं जाने देता, इसको कुछ ना कुछ बना देते हैं। पुराने विंडोज में फर्नीचर बना देते हैं, जैसे आप मेरे पीछे देख रहे हैं, ये पुराने विंडो से बना हुआ है, पूरा कैबिनेट बना दिया हमने। बस यहाँ पे ये है कि हमारे स्पेस का इशू होता है, अगर स्पेस थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा हो जाए तो हम लोग काफ़ी कुछ क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, काफ़ी जॉब हम बना सकते हैं लोगों को देने के लिए। और जिन लोगों को काम नहीं आता, कोई कारपेंटरी सीखना चाहता है, कोई पेंट सीखना चाहता है, तो क्योंकि डिस्ट्रेस पेंट में इतना कोई बहुत ज़्यादा सीखना नहीं होता, ये तो हमें बताना होता है कि इसको इतना ज़्यादा सेंड करो, उसको इतना ज़्यादा सेंड करो, उसके बाद उसको हम फर्नीचर में कन्वर्ट कर देते हैं सब कुछ। और पुराना वुड जो है हम लोग पुराने ऑफिस से रिकवर करते हैं, हमारे साथ स्क्रैप डीलर्स जुड़े हुए हैं जो हमें पुराना वुड ला के देते हैं, सोर्सिंग करवा के देते हैं सब कुछ, क्योंकि हमें तो इतना टाइम नहीं होता कि हम जाके खुद सोर्स करें, तो वो लोग खुद जाके लाके हमें बताते हैं कि इतना वुड है और इतना वुड है। जनरली हम उनसे ज़्यादा खरीद नहीं पाते क्योंकि स्पेस का इशू रहता है। तो वही चीज़ है, अगर स्पेस हमें मिल जाए गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से या कहीं पे सस्ता स्पेस मिल जाए तो हम ये काम को बढ़ा सकते हैं। हम नई वुड को यूज़ नहीं कर रहे, नए ट्रीज को काट नहीं रहे, पुराने जो वुड है उसको रिसाइकलिंग करते हैं, उससे एनवायरनमेंट फ्रेंडली है थोड़ा, ये एनवायरनमेंट को लॉस नहीं होता, नहीं तो आजकल इतने पेड़ करते हैं।
This is perfect timing because Deepak sir just joined us, so I'm just gonna add him that he can speak. Hello, Deepak sir.
तो
Alpha, you can go ahead.
Is this video on? Because I can't see him. हेलो दीपक सर, हमने अभी जस्ट आपका वीडियो देखा और काफी अच्छा लगा आपके रिसाइकलिंग मॉडल को देख करके। आप कुछ शेयर करना चाहेंगे, क्या चैलेंजेस आ रहे हैं लाइक?
हम बोलेंगे दोबारा।
मैं बोल रही थी कि आपका जस्ट अभी वीडियो हमने प्ले किया और देखकर काफी अच्छा लगा कैसे आप पुराने फर्नीचर्स को रिसाइकिल कर रहे हैं। आप कुछ और जोड़ना चाहेंगे उसमें? क्या चैलेंजेस आ रहे हैं काम के वक्त और कैसे आप सोर्स कर रहे हैं ओल्ड फर्नीचर्स को?
मैम एक्चुअली क्या था कि पहले जब हम पढ़ाई कर रहे थे, जब इंटीरियर डिज़ाइनिंग कर रहे थे, तो काफ़ी कुछ मार्केट्स में सर्च किया, अलग अलग मार्केट्स में घूमे, जितनी भी टिम्बर मार्केट्स हैं सब में सर्च किया, मैंने देखा कि इतना सारा वुड का सोर्स करना और वो सब करना, और नए वुड में बहुत सारे इश्यूज भी आते हैं। फिर जब मैंने अपनी मार्केट को ज्वाइन किया, अमर कॉलोनी फर्नीचर मार्केट को, तो वहाँ पे मैंने देखा कि काफ़ी पुराना फर्नीचर आता है और लोगों को इतना समझ नहीं आता। सो उसके बाद फिर पिनिट्रेस्ट पे और गूगल पे काफ़ी सर्च करके उसका DIY किया, उसको फिर बेचना शुरू किया, तो काफ़ी लोगों को पसंद आने लगा। तो अभी हम 90% जो मटेरियल बेचते हैं वो रिसाइकलिंग ही होता है। वो रिसाइकलिंग चाहे पुराने दरवाजों से हो, पुरानी खिड़कियों के वुड से हो। तो सोर्सिंग हम लोग स्क्रैप डीलर्स से करते हैं। वो ओल्ड डोर और विंडोज़ हमें दे जाते हैं, उनको हम पूरा खोल के उसका वुड को दोबारा से रीयूज़ करते हैं अगर नया फर्नीचर बनाना होता है तो। और अदरवाइज़ अगर कुछ पुराना फर्नीचर आता है तो उसको फिर हम नए तरीके से बना के फिर बेचते हैं। तो इसके लिए हमें पेंटर्स को सिखाना पड़ता है, कारपेंटर्स को थोड़ा सिखाना पड़ता है इसको कैसे कैसे करना है, ये उनको भी कुछ नहीं पता होता। अदरवाइज वो जहाँ से भी सीख के आए होते हैं वो सब नया फर्नीचर का सीखा होता है उन्होंने, पुराने फर्नीचर की उनको कोई नॉलेज नहीं होती।
जी, और जैसे आप वीडियो में भी आपका शॉट है कि आप बता रहे हैं कि आप फर्नीचर्स को कैसे सोर्स कर रहे हैं डीलर्स से, तो उसमें कैसे चैलेंजेस आते हैं?
सोर्सिंग करने में,
जी।
सोर्सिंग करने में जैसे चैलेंजेस आते हैं कि एक स्क्रैप डीलर एक जगह में नहीं होते, वो अलग अलग जगह में होते हैं। लाइक आउटसाइड, दिल्ली के आउटसाइड ज़्यादा हैं, जैसे हापुड़ में है, अगर दिल्ली में भी है तो बिल्कुल बॉर्डर के पास है कहीं पे, तो वहाँ से जाके सब कुछ देख के लेके आना पड़ता है। मेन चैलेंजेस जो आते हैं वो यहाँ पे स्पेस को लेके आते हैं कि यहाँ पे हमारे पास इतना स्पेस ही नहीं है कि हम बहुत ज़्यादा फर्नीचर लेके आएँ और उसको उसको रीडू करके बेच सकें। एक एक करके उसको रीडू करते हैं और फिर उसको लगाते हैं, और इमीडिएट रिस्पॉन्स आता है। ऐसा नहीं है कि काफ़ी दिन के बाद वो सेल पे होता है, जैसे ही हम उसको सेल पे लगाते हैं तो इमीडिएट वो सेल हो जाता है, क्योंकि उसकी लुक बिल्कुल अलग होती है और मार्केट से। अदरवाइज आप किसी भी मार्केट में जाओ, लाइक कीर्ति नगर फर्नीचर मार्केट है इतनी बड़ी, या पंचकुइया रोड है, या और कहीं पे भी जाते हैं तो वहाँ पे सब नया फर्नीचर होता है, चमक 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 वाला, और वो किसी को भी, मेरे को नहीं लगता कि ज़्यादा पसंद आता है।
कोविड के टाइम में क्या प्रभाव पड़ा आपके मार्केट में, अगर आप उसके बारे में कुछ बताना चाहेंगे?
कोविड के टाइम में तो एक्चुअली जब कोविड चल रहा था और या जब लॉकडाउन था, लॉकडाउन में तो सब कुछ बंद हो गया था, और उसके बाद जब दोबारा से स्टार्ट किया तो दोबारा से स्टाफ को इकट्ठा करना सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज था, कि स्टाफ को इकट्ठा करना है, उनको दोबारा गांव से बुलाना है। और फर्स्ट लॉकडाउन में इतना ज़्यादा डरा दिया था कि जब सेकंड लॉकडाउन हुआ तो वो पहले ही चले गए सब के सब, जबकि सेकंड लॉकडाउन में इतना ज़्यादा इफेक्ट नहीं था, लेकिन वो डर के मारे वो सब चले गए। इसकी वजह से बिजनेस में काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम आई, क्योंकि जैसे कि हम पुराने को DIY करते हैं, जब पुराने को DIY करते हैं तो लेबर के लिए ही सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत होती है। अगर लेबर नहीं है तो फिर हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि हमारे तो दिमाग में है जो भी है, सब कुछ लेबर से ही कराना है, उनको समझाना है कि इसको ऐसे नहीं ऐसे करना है, ऐसे नहीं ऐसे करना है। तो काफ़ी ऑर्डर्स डिले भी हुए थे, अदरवाइज इतना डिले होता नहीं है।
जी, थैंक यू सो मच दीपक जी शेयर करने के लिए। नाउ we'll move back to all the panelists again. Agar like if any of you want to share more, अजीत, शिवानी, डॉक्टर जोशी, अगर आप कुछ और मुद्दे पे बात करना चाहेंगे, or should we move ahead with the questions?
We have a lot of questions from our audience, so maybe we could move on to that.
Okay. Sri Ranjani, would you like to take the questions ahead?
Sure, I can do that. So the first question is for Ajit, and it's was Furlenco affected by the pandemic? And also, how are you planning to scale up even further? And what is the USP for Furlenco compared to Rento Mojo or City Furnish? This question is from Shashwat Shukla.
So I've answered a couple of them directly now, but just to reiterate on the pandemic part, yeah, of course, we also got impacted. But the nature of our business model is rental and subscription. So the revenue keeps coming in. So we didn't have to do any drastic cuts or anything like that within the organization. It's just that we couldn't make fresh sales. That was the only downside of it. But we utilized our time, and that's how the concept of whole remanufactured furniture came in, and we launched Furbicle as well. So I would definitely love to work with Deepak Ji to see if he can put his stuff online and get more audience for it. So something that we would be willing to do. But yeah, otherwise scaling up is happening as we speak. We're doubling almost on a month-on-month basis. We're in more and more cities. Every month we're launching a new city right now. More products, more categories, and more business lines as well. So those are all the different scale-up thing. And I was on the with the competitors, I think our USP is basically design. We design our furniture ourselves. We believe that it has to have sustainable elements. It has to have refurbishment qualities. And we've actually, in fact, won multiple design awards creating our own design. So that's our biggest USP. And of course, the refurbishment centers that we've created across India, which refurbishes furniture again and again at a much larger scale. So we refurbish about 70 to 100 crores worth of furniture every month. So we have that capability. So these are some of our USPs that I think will stand us in the longer run.
Thanks, Ajit. And the final one is, why did you choose furniture? Like what ignited that spark that made you go on your journey with Furlenco and House of Care?
So I come from an investment banking technology background. So I was in the US for quite some time. As part of my moving back to India, I sold a lot of furniture for peanuts. And then when I came to India, I bought all the furniture again. And the first time when I moved from one house to another, things started breaking. And that's when I realized that there is no model here in India for somebody like me who was uncertain during that phase of my life to actually, rent furniture for a short period of time. And that's how the idea came in as well. So it was serendipitous, followed by a problem that I was facing. So I found a solution for myself, and hence furniture. But otherwise, no background in furniture or no background in business at all.
Thanks, Ajit. The next question is for Shivani. Shivani, do you think there's a possibility of scaling up what you are doing? Oh, sorry, you're muted. And I'll add another question to that, which is basically during the pandemic, thrift stores have become very popular across India. So do you see a similar trend happening with like the furniture and the interior designing aspects that you work on?
So the first question, I mean, my philosophy is different. I've never intended to scale up or to be really large. I just want to have a good time doing this. I love what I do. I have a small team. We're close-knit, and yeah, so that's it, right? Like, we just enjoy what we do. We're going to have a small studio. We're going to work with fewer people. And I mean, I don't think I'm going to scale up, because I really, really like the quality that we give clients is only going to be for a few clients. And I really like the closeness with working with just a couple of people. And I don't think scaling up is for everyone, right? You have to find what makes you happy. A lot of people like big, but I like small. I like keeping it quality, oriented. And I don't think I'm going to scale up. The next question, I didn't really understand it, but what is the question? What do you think will turn the tide for refurbished to
I'll
become
repeat it.
mainstream, right? Instead of
So assuming you've seen how thrift shopping has become a big trend in urban India in the last year, what do you think will turn the tide for refurbished furniture to become mainstream?
I think, well, I'm not, what do you think will turn the tide for refurbished furniture to become mainstream? I suppose more people just recognizing the worth of the wood in older furniture, the style of older things, right? That's probably going to get a lot of people wanting to buy them. That was my trigger, right? I was just like, well, I'm not getting the worth for something new in mango wood, whereas teak, good quality teak, which has been seasoned for so many years and is going to last me that many more, is a better investment. And I think once people see that, and you see that like they're containers full of furniture, old furniture that go out of the country to the States and things, and are sold back for like double, triple the price, right? Like they're really expensive. That's, so I think once people recognize that, to see that there's great value in older stuff, and that might change things, because thrift shops, you find some really good stuff that will last you. And I also think there's a connection, right? Like the history of it is special, which new furniture, I mean, will take a while to get to once it gets old. So I suppose it's the story behind furniture. It's also the value of it. When people realize that, I suppose that'll change things.
Thanks, Shivani. This question's for Ajit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going ahead. I'm just trying to find the question again. But it was, circular economy is often criticized for ignoring the social and health aspects. It was eye-opening what Dr. Joshi shared with us today. Was Furlenco already aware of these issues Dr. Joshi raised, or do you plan to incorporate these into your operations related to the health?
So the severity of what Dr. Joshi pointed out is eye opener, definitely. But you know, for the audience, you know, the example that Dr. Joshi used was formaldehyde. It's basically the polish that you use on furniture. For Lenco, we don't use formaldehyde at all. We use a water-based polish. And let me also connect. I'll probably answer one of the questions that was asked to Shivani as well. How do you make refurbished furniture more popular? Well, she's right about the fact that people have to be a little more accepting of it, because, and I'm going to connect it to the formaldehyde question as well. If I use a water-based polish instead of formaldehyde, formaldehyde is cheaper, and I can get you cheaper furniture by getting you formaldehyde, but it is not not good for your health. So when I put an water-based polish on furniture, it's going to be a little more expensive. People should be ready to accept the premiumness of furniture when it comes to more sustainable kind of solutions. So a refurbished, sustainable furniture world requires also people to appreciate that their care has been put into the furniture, and which means that it will be a little bit more expensive than what you will get. So we should slightly move out of value for money thought process and be more health conscious and planet conscious. Then automatically things will start falling in place. So yes, I am absolutely aware of some of the dangers of these kind of chemicals, and we actually don't use it as much as possible. It's not 100%. It's not. It'll take a long time because we need alternatives for it. But we definitely have taken steps in the right direction for that.
Even if you don't use formaldehyde to treat the wood dust itself is an independent cancer-causing agent, because it inflicts injury on the nasal passages and the lungs. So when the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified it as a cancer-causing agent, it doesn't say that it is because of the formaldehyde. It is independent risk factor, and we are still to understand what is that it makes cancer-causing agent. So, I mean, to summarize that, not only the formaldehyde, but whenever any carpenter or anybody is working on the wood, we should be careful to prevent the inhalation of this wood dust. That's all.
Yeah, so There are a few more questions over here. There was a question for Shivani. What is the major difference in handling reused and recyclable materials compared to usual raw material? Like, is there any commercial and competitive value to having such a business model?
I think there is, value, a competitive and commercial value to having the business model that I do. I didn't start out with a business model. I'm not a business person. I'm doing this because I love it. And I have happened to make enough money for myself and for my team. And I think that works. I'm not sure if I were to scale up or if this was to go larger, there would be that much value in it, like in terms of commercial value. But in terms of something that gives one satisfaction, there is immense satisfaction in knowing that, you're bringing something old to life and somebody can enjoy something that you've really put passion into. Yeah.
Dr. Joshi, there's a question for you. How can we ensure that toxic chemicals are no longer a component in manufacturing of furniture, or how can
It's very simple. As I said that it's not only the question of using toxic chemicals, but you could always look for substitutes. There are substitutes available. A classical example is our petrol that we use. For decades, we were using petrol and we were adding lead to it. And lead, is a neurotoxin for children especially. And then towards the end of last century, the world became very concerned because every child was losing some IQ point because of the lead coming out of the gas exhaust of your car and motor vehicle. And so I think in India, 1998, we substituted with the alkyl benzenes, that is benzene, toluene, xylene, and acetylene. So you don't have lead in petrol. So similarly, if you apply your mind, there could be substitutes. I haven't mentioned, but one of the biggest global hazard is asbestos. You use asbestos as a home for insulation and for acoustic room. Now the world has moved away from asbestos, and there are many substitutes for the cellulose fibers, polyvinyl alcohol. So the foremost thing is that if you are seriously looking to substitute and look alternative, there would be alternatives. Yes, the only thing is cost factor. When you use it, like I didn't mention the paint. Paint in India, the paint, all big companies were using paint with a very high content of lead. But then because of their understanding of the lead, most, I think, India big manufacturers like Asian Paints or Berger, they have moved away. Now they were used to be 1,000 parts per million, extremely toxic. Now they are limited to 90 parts per million in paint. But the small time manufacturers, they still are using lead because it is a cost factor. Secondly, as I said, that if you do hazard evaluation, you can put in place measures to prevent the harm, and that doesn't cost much. Like in COVID, ultimately, what is we still don't understand the disease, but ultimately we have fallen back in the time-tested public health measures like test, trace, and isolate, and plus use mask and other hygiene measures. So that still remains our mainstay against the COVID. So similarly, looking for alternatives and using a strategy to prevent and protect can be applied to prevent the harm to the workers and to the community. That's all.
दीपक जी, आपके लिए एक क्वेश्चन है कि क्या आप कैसे स्केल अप करने का आप सोच रहे हैं अपना फर्नीचर मार्केट को, और आपके क्या प्लान्स है ये सस्टेनेबिलिटी रिसाइकलिंग मॉडल को और बढ़ाने का?
मैम, मेरे अपने बिजनेस मॉडल को बढ़ाने के लिए मैं जो स्पेस ढूंढ रहा हूँ, एक्चुअली आई वुड लाइक टू, मेरे पास स्पेस कुछ अगर ज़्यादा हो जाएगा तो मेरे ख्याल से हम उसको अच्छे तरीके से क्लाइंट्स के आगे दिखा सकते हैं। जो यहाँ पे अभी हम नहीं कर पा रहे बिकॉज ऑफ साउथ दिल्ली, क्योंकि साउथ दिल्ली में स्पेस का बहुत ज़्यादा इशू है। तो मुझे लगता है कि या तो मुझे एनसीआर में मूव करना पड़ेगा या कुछ करना पड़ेगा। फिर बहुत सारे आइडियाज़ जो होते हैं वो दिमाग में होते हैं, और जब तक वो हम उसको लेके नहीं आ पाते तब तक वो हो नहीं पाता। जैसे अभी लास्ट टाइम हमने कुछ मंथ्स पहले ही ये टायर की सीटिंग्स वगैरह बनाई थी, तो इसमें हमारे पास टायर की सीटिंग्स भी है, टायर के साथ हम लोग कॉफ़ी टेबल भी बना सकते हैं, काफ़ी कुछ कर सकते हैं। सो अभी तक जो दिमाग में चल रहा है, अभी तक हमने उसको प्रैक्टिकली यूज़ करा नहीं है कुछ भी। उसमें 5 या 10% ही यूज़ कर पाए होंगे अभी।
जी, और जैसे आप अभी अपना बिजनेस को ऑनलाइन करने का शुरुआत किए हैं आपने इंस्टाग्राम, तो उसका क्या रिस्पॉन्स आ रहा है?
हाँ, उसका रिस्पॉन्स काफ़ी अच्छा है। लाइक अभी हमने लाइक अभी तक तो हमारे पास दिल्ली से ही लोग आते थे, तो जब से ये इंस्टाग्राम में हमने डाला है पेज ये, तो तब से लाइक हैदराबाद से, बेंगलोर से, चेन्नई से, काफ़ी दूर दूर से लोग इसको पसंद कर रहे हैं, और इसके बारे में कुछ अभी क्वेरीज आ रही हैं।
जी, I would like to ask the panelists if they want to ask each other any question. Or Ajit has just written in the chat that he can help Deepak in scaling up his business. So Deepak ji, अगर आप Ajit जी के साथ collaboration करना चाहेंगे Furlenco के साथ, so he can वो आपको help करेंगे।
दीपक जी, हमारा दूसरा एक ब्रांड है फर्लिंको इज रेंटल, फर्बिकल करके दूसरा ब्रांड है जहाँ पे हम लोग रीमैन्युफैक्चर्ड फर्नीचर बेचते हैं। तो वी कैन इजीली पुट यू ऑनलाइन एंड आपका फर्नीचर व्हाटएवर यू क्रिएट वी कैन सेंड इट अक्रॉस एनी पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया।
सर क्रिएशन तो हो जाती है। बेसिकली मैं यही बोल रहा हूँ कि अभी हमारे पास टीम है, लेकिन अभी हम लोग इतना ज़्यादा लेवल पे नहीं कर पा रहे क्योंकि बिकॉज ऑफ स्पेस इशू, स्पेस का इशू है हमारे पास।
फॉर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इटसेल्फ,
हाँ, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के लिए, या फिर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हो जाती है तो उसको रेडी करने के लिए हमारे पास इतना स्पेस ही नहीं होता कि हम मैन पावर बढ़ा पाएँ।
Let us talk offline. Maybe we can help you with that.
क्योंकि जितना भी मटेरियल अभी हम लोग बना रहे हैं, मैं आपको यही फर्स्ट लाइन मैंने यही बोला कि जितना भी मटेरियल हम लोग बना रहे हैं, कि लोगों को इतना ज़्यादा पसंद आ रहा है कि वो बना के जैसे ही स्टोर पे जाता है और वो सेल आउट हो जाता है।
Understand. It's great.
और रिसाइकलिंग एक ऐसी चीज़ है कि सबको पसंद आएगा। लाइक हम अपनी टूटी फूटी कुर्सी को भी कुछ ना कुछ बना सकते हैं, पुराने डाइनिंग टेबल से कुछ क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, पुराने डोर से कुछ ना कुछ क्रिएट कर सकते हैं।
Got it. We can probably help you with that.
तो अभी हम मेरे से जितना हो पा रहा है मैं कर रहा हूँ। साइड बाय साइड स्पेस भी देख रहा हूँ, लेकिन स्पेस काफ़ी दूर मिलता है। लाइक जैसे मैंने बोला कि एनसीआर में प्रॉपर्टी थोड़ा सा सस्ता है, अदरवाइज यहाँ पे अगर हम रेंटल में लेते हैं तो सब कुछ रेंटल पे ही चला जाता है। आप समझ सकते होंगे, आप भी यू आर इन द सेम लाइन। तो
थैंक यू दीपक जी, थैंक यू फॉर शेयरिंग। थैंक यू। अब हम इसको एंड करेंगे, हमारा टाइम भी हो गया है। आई वुड like to ask the panelists if they still want to speak something, if they would like to say something, like just 2 minutes before we wrap up.
I also request all the panelists to share how they can be contacted or like their social media handles, because we have a lot of people in the audience who want to connect with you, collaborate, or learn more about what you do.
So I would say you can share my contacts with all. If you need ever anything, I'll be very happy to provide it.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. So post the webinar, when I share the recording of the webinar with everyone, I will also share Dr. Joshi's contact details with you.
Thank you, everyone. Shivani, are you saying something?
No, I'm just going to say thank
No,
you.
I'm saying something. You
Yeah,
see,
yeah. Continue.
for a doctor to interact with people of different areas is very exciting and very interesting. When I was a medical student in 1970, I remember the world's best journal, the Journal of American Medical Association. It published an editorial. And the one thing it advised the doctors all over the world is that by learning medicine, you become a doctor. But by learning more about other things, you become a better doctor. That I would say. So I learned many things from many people, very useful, very interesting.
Thank you, Dr. Joshi. On that note, we will conclude this webinar. Thank you, everyone, for being here and listening so patiently till the end. This was quite an interesting discussion for me. Yeah. So the next
Thank you.
webinar on what progress has the world made in the CE in circular economics and plastics will happen on the 23rd of September 2021, Thursday at 5 p.m. Do register and join us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, our panelists, for
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.